I grew up in a house where my name was always an afterthought. It wasn't that anyone ever said I didn't matter. It was the silence that said it for them. A silence that settled in the space after Vanessa's name was called for the third time at dinner, when my achievements sat unopened in the mail, or when my birthday cake was still frozen because no one remembered to take it out in time. That year, I turned 10. A small age, you might think, but old enough to understand when you're not the star of your own story. The morning started like most. Vanessa storming down the stairs, ponytail bouncing, screaming about how she couldn't find her white cheer socks. Barbara rushed out of the kitchen, spatula still dripping pancake batter. Check the dryer, honey, and good luck today, sweetheart. Vanessa had a tryout for junior varsity cheer. She was 13, confident and commanding, a whirlwind in sneakers. Everyone knew it. I sat quietly at the table, the birthday card I had made for myself folded neatly beside my orange juice. No one noticed. Ronald, my stepfather, came in from the garage with grease on his hands and a plastic bag dangling from one wrist. Look what I picked up, Ness. He grinned, pulling out a shiny pink duffel bag with silver trim. For your tryout. Oh my God, thank you, she shrieked, hugging him with all the flair of a TV commercial. He chuckled, patting her head like she was a prize pony. I watched. Still, a quiet part of me hoped he might glance my way. Maybe he'd pull something else from that bag, even a piece of gum, a happy birthday, Em. But he didn't. He ruffled Vanessa's hair one last time and disappeared into the hallway. Mom once told me, some people love quietly, others just make more noise. I suppose she meant that as comfort. But at 10, I wasn't looking for quiet love. I wanted someone to shout for me, the way they shouted for her. Later that evening, I handed Barbara my report card. Straight A's. I had worked hard for those grades, extra reading under the covers, math worksheets during lunch breaks. She took it, nodded absently while stirring spaghetti sauce. That's great, sweetie. You're so dependable. Dependable. Not brilliant. Not exceptional. Not wow. Just predictable. Like a good pair of socks. Vanessa burst through the door moments later, cheeks flushed, ribbon clutched in her fist. I made the team. Barbara dropped the spoon. That's amazing. She pulled Vanessa into a hug, sauce splattering on the counter. Ronald appeared from nowhere with a high five. The kitchen turned into a victory parade. I stood by the fridge, invisible again. My report card sat alone on the counter. At dinner, they laughed about Vanessa's new routine and how flexible she was becoming. Ronald mimicked one of her jumps. Barbara nearly choked from laughing. No one noticed that the cake still sat in the freezer, untouched. It wasn't until dessert that Barbara seemed to remember. Oh, Emily, wasn't it your birthday today? My fork paused midair. Yes. She winced. I'm so sorry, baby. Things were just so crazy with tryouts. We'll do something special this weekend, okay? I nodded, even smiled. What else could I do? Later that night, I sat cross-legged on my bed, sketchbook open on my lap. It was something I'd started a year ago, drawing outfits I imagined on mannequins, flowing dresses, detailed seams, textured collars, my own little world in graphite and shadow. Earlier that day, my art teacher had pulled Barbara aside after school. I'd seen her eyes widen as Miss Carter unfolded one of my sketches. Emily has a gift, she had said. With support, she could really develop this. Barbara had smiled politely, thanked her, and changed the subject. Now, in the dim yellow light of my lamp, I stared down at the page. It was one of my best. An asymmetrical gown with lace across the shoulder and a hemline like a wave. I had spent 3 days on it. I reached to tear the page out. To show someone. Maybe Vanessa, even if she'd just nod and say cute. Or maybe Ronald, who sometimes seemed kinder after a long day. But then I remembered what I heard that afternoon when I walked past the living room on my way to grab my sketch pad. Barbara's voice, hushed but clear. Vanessa's the one who'll make it big. Emily? She's sweet, but quiet. That pause, that trailing off. that small, sinking dismissal. I looked at my drawing again. Then I closed the notebook, slid it under my bed, and turned off the lamp. For the first time, I didn't show anyone what I'd created. My love for design grew in the shadows, just like me. Tucked away in corners between textbooks and piles of laundry, my sketchbook became the place where I could breathe. While Vanessa danced in spotlights, prom queen, honor roll, summer internships in New York, I stitched dreams into paper with a mechanical pencil and a hope that maybe, someday, I'd be seen. At 17, I had grown used to the quiet. Not silence, just the kind of quiet that settles in when you stop expecting applause. Vanessa had come home for the summer, her suitcases heavier with stories than clothes. Barbara welcomed her like royalty, her voice lilting with pride. "My baby girl, back from the city. We missed you." I stood at the top of the stairs, watching them embrace. No one looked up. Vanessa's laugh echoed through the house like a chandelier. Beautiful, expensive, fragile if you listened close. She still smelled like perfume I couldn't pronounce. Her heels clicked on the tile like punctuation marks in a novel I wasn't invited to read. Later that evening, I opened the email alone in the living room. A partial scholarship. The Pacific Northwest Institute of Design, Seattle. I pressed my hand to my mouth, eyes wide. The words blurred from the tears I didn't expect. When I told them at dinner, I started with hope. I got in. It's not full ride, but it covers most of the tuition. I can apply for housing assistance. Vanessa raised an eyebrow. You? Fashion? You don't even wear eyeliner. Barbara chuckled under her breath, as if that counted as a response. Sweetie, that's wonderful, but maybe you should think about staying home another year. Help around the house, things are tight. I blinked. But this is what I've been working toward. Ronald cleared his throat. We've already spent so much on Vanessa's tuition. Let's not rush into debt for some artsy thing. Vanessa sipped her water, looking pleased. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw my sketchbook across the room and demand they see the hours, the passion, the late nights shaping my future in silence. Instead, I swallowed. I nodded. I waited. That night, I sat with Lena in her car, parked near the grocery store where she worked part-time. Lena had been my only friend through high school, the kind who listened without pretending to have all the answers. Her hands trembled as she fumbled with her phone. She borrowed $500, Lena whispered. Said she'd pay it back after her summer job started. That was 2 months ago, Em. My chest tightened. Vanessa? Lena nodded, eyes watery. I'm behind on rent. My mom doesn't even know. It didn't make sense. Not at first. Vanessa had always had everything. But then I remembered her sudden shopping trips, the expensive shoes, the Uber rides when our parents thought she was using the bus. And I remembered Lena giving her rides, buying her lattes, believing in her. Vanessa's smile, the one that charmed rooms, felt suddenly venomous. That night, I pulled the sketchbook from under my bed. It had grown fat with years of ideas, each page a rebellion. I flipped past the dresses I once designed for dolls, now replaced by structured blazers, embroidered collars, sharp silhouettes with defiance in every line. I opened my laptop. The email still glowed on the screen. I read it twice. Then, with trembling fingers, I clicked Accept Offer. I didn't ask. I didn't tell. I just did it. No one needed to know. Yet. For now, it was mine. Because some strings, even the ones tied in family, needed to be cut quietly. He noticed my designs before anyone else did. And that's what made it dangerous. The studio was half lit, the harsh fluorescence replaced by a dim orange glow from the single lamp above my workstation. It was nearing midnight. The campus hushed, save for the hum of machines and the occasional groan of a coffee maker from down the hall. My final project was scattered around me. Sheets of raw silk, twisted paper structures, and a single mannequin cloaked in asymmetry and ambition. Unconventional, a voice said behind me. In the best way. I turned. He was leaning in the doorway, sleeves rolled up, a sketchbook tucked under one arm. Mark. He'd transferred in last year, brought in as a design assistant for a visiting professor. Older than most of us, with a confidence that felt more earned than forced. His smile was knowing, like he saw something in me I wasn't ready to show. You think? I asked, brushing lint off the shoulder seam. He walked closer, circling the mannequin. You're not designing for validation. You're designing to say something. I flushed. Sometimes I feel like I'm shouting into a void. Then let's make it echo, he said, grinning. Come on, coffee's on me. That became our pattern. Late nights blurred into early mornings, hands stained with ink and fabric dye, conversations skipping from Bauhaus to Heartbreak to burrito places still open after 2 a.m. He'd critique without condescension, offer praise without cliché. When he talked about my work, I believed it mattered. Lena wasn't as charmed. He flirts with everyone, she said one morning, arms crossed as she eyed him across the quad. You're not the first girl he's helped fix her hemline. I laughed it off. It's not like that. But it was becoming something. A slow gravity pulled me toward him. I caught myself sketching more, taking risks, stretching fabric in new ways. Like confidence itself was a textile, and he helped me weave it tighter. Weeks passed. My senior project took shape. A collection inspired by the erosion of memory. Soft fabrics decomposed by sandpaper textures, frayed seams that told stories. The department hosted an internal competition before graduation, the winner earning a mentorship with a major label in New York. I entered with little hope. I won. When they called my name, I stood frozen, barely hearing the applause. And then Mark was there, arms around me, lips brushing mine in a moment so electric it stole breath. I knew you would, he whispered. That night I called home. Barbara answered on the third ring, her voice tired. I got it, Mom. The mentorship in New York, and there's someone. His name's Mark. A pause. Then, don't let that distract you. Men ruin focus. No congratulations, no pride. Just a warning shaped like a scar. I swallowed the sting and changed the subject. Mark didn't just want to celebrate. He wanted to build. We sat on the rooftop of our favorite cafe, Seattle's skyline a mess of blinking lights behind him. His breath smelled like espresso and cinnamon. With your eye and my sales brain, he said, we could build something incredible. Just us. It wasn't just a compliment. It was an offer. A future. A door I didn't know I was desperate to open. And I didn't yet see the price. The last person I expected to see at my door was the sister who disappeared. I stood frozen in the threshold, raindrops misting the air between us. Vanessa's hair was darker than I remembered, damp from the drizzle and cut into a sharp, shoulder-length bob. Her coat clung to her body like it was too thin for the chill. But her expression, open, eyes glassy, was the same mix of performance and sincerity I remembered from when we were kids and she needed something. Em, she said, breath fogging the air between us. Can we talk? I didn't move at first. Her voice brought back echoes. Childhood birthdays she forgot. The sting of her teasing, the way she once mocked my sketchbook like it was a diary full of bad poetry. But there she was, shivering on my doorstep. No luggage, no umbrella, just a duffel bag and the kind of look someone rehearses in the mirror. I just need a place to land. A few weeks, please. Inside, Mark looked up from the kitchen, spatula in hand. Everything okay? I turned back to Vanessa. You'd better come in. She stepped into the apartment cautiously, like she didn't want to dirty it. The smell of burnt garlic lingered from Mark's attempt at fusion pasta night. Vanessa's eyes swept the small living room. Mid-century couch, thrifted bookshelf, framed fabric swatches on the wall. And she smiled faintly. Wow, you've really made a life here. She called me inspiring over takeout that night, said she'd been following my progress online, that she was proud of me. Tears welled up when she talked about regrets. dropping out of her marketing program, losing friends, failing at a few startups. "I've changed," she said. "I swear. I'm done being the girl who took shortcuts." Mark said she could stay on the couch. "She's your sister," he told me, squeezing my hand. "People come back when they're ready." But something in me remained rigid. Even as Vanessa cleaned the kitchen unprompted, folded laundry, brewed my favorite tea. Even when she laughed at Mark's jokes and asked about his startup ideas. She complimented the blouse I was designing for the spring showcase, called it innovative yet wearable. She said the fabric felt like confidence. She even offered to model for photos. I wanted to believe her. Wanted to believe she wasn't the same girl who once convinced me to give her my babysitting money and never paid it back. But that Friday morning, I came home early from a supplier meeting and froze in the hallway. Vanessa was in the living room, facing the mirror, wearing one of my original pieces. It was a soft gray wrap jacket with asymmetrical lapels and hand-stitched accents, one I had been saving for my upcoming portfolio shoot. Her makeup was sharp, her heels high. She posed, adjusted her hair, snapped a photo on her phone. I stepped in. "What are you doing?" She turned, startled. "Oh, hey, I was just borrowing it. I have a quick coffee thing with a contact from Wild District. Thought it might make a good impression." I stared at her. "That jacket isn't finished." She smiled sheepishly. I know, but it already looks incredible. You've got magic hands, Em." She left in a cloud of lavender perfume. I didn't know what bothered me more. Her wearing my design without asking, or the ease with which she made it seem harmless. That night, Lena's name lit up my phone. Her message was simple. "Is it true Vanessa is pitching your line to someone at Wild District Boutique?" I paid for everything, yet somehow I was the guest. The elevator chimed softly as I stepped out, heels echoing against marble floors. The venue was exactly what Mark and I had dreamed about over late-night Pinterest scrolls. Vaulted ceilings wrapped in ivy garlands, floor-to-ceiling windows letting the spring sun spill across pale oak floors. It was warm, golden, elegant, intimate without being stuffy. I clutched the envelope that had arrived yesterday with no sender name. Just the venue address and a time for a tasting. Mark hadn't mentioned anything, but I assumed it was a surprise. He'd been quiet lately, distracted, but I figured it was nerves. Weddings were stressful. I wanted to believe that. As I entered the main hall, laughter drifted toward me. Familiar laughter. I turned a corner and stopped cold. Vanessa stood next to Mark. Both of them leaned over a table lined with fabric swatches and centerpiece mock-ups. An event coordinator was gesturing animatedly between floral samples. Barbara and Ronald stood nearby, sipping champagne, perfectly at ease. What struck me first wasn't that they were together, but that my name wasn't anywhere in the room. Not on the sample menu, not on the welcome sign, not on the printed wedding timeline pinned to a corkboard. Instead, etched in elegant calligraphy across a white linen card. Vanessa and Mark, summer wedding preview. My throat dried instantly. I took a step forward. "Mark?" I managed, voice too thin, too fragile. He looked up, startled. Vanessa didn't turn. "Oh, Emily," he said. "I didn't think you'd, get the invite." "Invite?" Vanessa finally looked at me, her smile syrupy. "You made it. Well, this is awkward." "What the hell is this?" Mark ran a hand through his hair, eyes darting everywhere but my face. "It's not what it looks like." "Then explain it," I snapped. He glanced at Vanessa, who raised an eyebrow. "It just happened. We didn't plan for it, Em. It was late nights, shared ideas, realizations. Vanessa gets me in ways I didn't expect." I blinked. "You're marrying my sister?" "She's more than that," Barbara interjected from behind, placing her glass down with a soft click. "Vanessa understands the world you're trying to break into. She's charismatic. You've always been thoughtful, but not exactly a presence." It was the same tone she used when I was 12 and wanted to audition for the school play. The same dismissal. I felt it slam through me like a door closing in slow motion. Get out, I said, teeth clenched. Mark blinked. What? Get out of my apartment. You and Vanessa, tonight. He opened his mouth, but Vanessa was faster. She tilted her head, mock sympathy in her voice. You signed the lease, but he paid the deposit. Technically, we both have rights. My vision blurred. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just turned and walked. It was raining when I got to the apartment. Harder than this morning. An angry, relentless kind of rain. My bag slipped from my shoulder as I reached into my pocket for keys that felt suddenly useless. I tried the knob. Locked. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again. Still nothing. I tried calling. First Mark, then Vanessa. Voicemail. I stood there, soaked, the envelope from the fake invitation now dissolving in my hand. The streetlight above flickered. I looked up, mouth parted, eyes burning, rain tracing down my face like salt water. And no one answered. The city I ran from became the place I rebuilt. The moment I stepped back into Portland, it was like walking into an old photograph, grainy, muted, and edged with dust. The air had that crisp autumn sharpness that cut straight to the lungs. I hadn't planned to stay long, just until I found my footing. But as I stood in front of Barbara's old house, keys trembling in my hand, something inside me whispered, "Start here." The house was empty. She and Ronald had moved downstate a year ago, and the realtor had left a spare key taped under the mailbox, probably assuming I'd show up eventually. I pushed open the front door. The creak of the hinges felt like an echo of my past. Dust coated the entry table where Barbara used to arrange fresh tulips. Always for guests, never for me. My old room was mostly untouched. A faded poster of a vintage Dior runway still clung to the wall, corners curled. The mattress sagged. My childhood desk sat in the corner, scratched but sturdy. I ran a hand along its surface, half expecting to find the etching I once carved beneath. EV. Invisible but here. I didn't cry. I was too tired to cry. Later that evening, Lena called. Her face popped onto my cracked tablet screen, voice warm but taut with fury. They're using your sketches, Em. Exact replicas. They renamed the line Urban Silhouettes, but it's yours. The bias cuts, the charcoal palette, even the structured blazers. She sent the files, images from a pitch deck, documents filed with the Seattle Investor Group, press kit PDFs with Vanessa's face beside Mark's. My stomach churned. They're pushing hard, Lena added. But people are asking questions. I think you've still got leverage. I thanked her, numb. After the call ended, I sat on the floor in silence, laptop open beside me, sketches from years ago slowly appearing one by one. I hadn't drawn since the betrayal. The pencil had felt foreign in my hand. But now I opened a fresh sketchbook. I didn't bother dusting off the table. I simply drew. The lines came hesitant at first. Fractured seams, burnt textures, silhouettes built from breakage. Then they sharpened. The fabric in my mind was ash-colored, reborn from ruin. I scribbled one word across the top of the page. Ashes. That night, Rachel called. Barbara's former assistant, she had always been quiet, kind, too timid to voice her thoughts in family matters. Now, her voice held steel. I heard what happened, she said softly. I don't care what Barbara says. You deserve better. And I still have access to the design archives. Yours are time-stamped. You want them? Yes, I whispered. Rachel didn't ask for details. She just said, I'll send them tonight. And one more thing. Barbara might have moved on, but she left all the old business contacts to me. Some of them still respect her name. I'll filter out the snakes. It was a gift I didn't expect, and one I didn't take lightly. Days passed in a blur of coffee, sketching, and silence. I didn't post anything. No stories, no teasers, no announcements. This time I would build in the shadows, like I always had. I visited Mrs. Janine, the local tailor who had hemmed every school uniform and curtain for this neighborhood since 1985. She welcomed me like a granddaughter. "Still got that hunger in your eyes," she said, pinning fabric to my mannequin. "Now you just need the fire." "I've got ashes," I replied. "That's a start." By the end of the week, I had 6 working prototypes and a list of potential suppliers. Rachel helped me set up a clean LLC. Lena helped with branding. We worked like ghosts, present but unseen. On a rainy Thursday morning, I was sketching in the kitchen when my phone buzzed. Rachel's name lit the screen. Her voice was breathless. "You won't believe who just booked a pitch meeting at Harper Apparel using your portfolio?" My silence was mistaken for surrender. That's what makes it useful. The espresso machine hissed behind me as I sat in the corner booth of a downtown cafe, hoodie drawn low, fingers tapping through digital folders that Rachel had decrypted the night before. The glow of the screen lit up the inconsistencies like runway spotlights. I scrolled past file names. Urban Silhouettes, Pitch Deck, Vanessa, Sao, Mark, Media Kit, Design Claims. Version 2. Half of the documents reference collections I had designed in college. Dated, documented, traceable. Yet in each file, Vanessa's name sat under Creative Director. No mention of me. Rachel had spent the night annotating every page, highlighting timelines that didn't line up. Her notations were clinical, color-coded, angry only in subtext. She had worked for Barbara long enough to know when image overtook truth. "Vanessa wasn't part of anything until after you left," she'd told me. "These are your prints, your patterns." The law wasn't on my side yet, but facts were. Later that afternoon, I met Mr. Grant at his aging office on Division Street. The family's old lawyer, now grayer, now slower, but still meticulous. He flipped through the documents like he was examining ancient scrolls. "She has no legal claim," he said at last, adjusting his glasses. "Not unless you signed rights over, and I see no such document." "I didn't," I said, "but they're already shopping the line." Grant sighed. "Then it's time to start drawing boundaries. Soft at first. Quiet." I nodded. That night, Rachel and I sat shoulder to shoulder in her tiny home office, screens open, lips pursed. Her dog snored under the desk while we brainstormed subtle moves. Nothing explosive. Not yet. She created a fake Gmail, a fake PR firm name. And from there, we leaked small, calculated interest in a new underground label called Ashes and Thread. No photos. Just one line, crafted from what they discarded. Meanwhile, Lena worked digital angles from Seattle. She scoured design forums, messaged industry writers with anonymous tips, and tapped into her old contacts at the Institute. She kept the whispers low, the intrigue high. And Vanessa? Vanessa started bragging. Lena forwarded screenshots of Vanessa's Instagram stories, thinly veiled boasts about curating edgy minimalism and disrupting legacy design models. One post showed a blurry mood board with one of my old sketches just visible in the corner. My handwriting cropped awkwardly but still legible. "Let her get cocky," Rachel muttered. "We need her desperate to be seen." So we baited her. I uploaded a teaser sketch, something bold but rough, onto an anonymous design blog under a pseudonym. It was titled Pattern 11A, Reclamation. The lines were unmistakably mine. Aggressive angles paired with broken seams,